Welcome to another episode of A Mental Health Break. I'm your host and author of the book, Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, Vincent A. Lanci.
Hi, and I'm Bailey Smith. Thank you for having me back on the show.
It is time for another bonus episode of COVID Talks. For COVID Talks episodes, I bring back previous guests to share their experiences during the lockdown and pandemic. When I was 21 years old, I was the victim of a hit-and-run accident while on foot. After coming out of a coma and suffering from a traumatic brain injury, or you may know of as a TBI, I soon realized that it was time to put my mental health on a very high pedestal. This transformative experience has led me to create a podcast that is all things mental health. Would it add value to your life to hear mental health professionals and advocates share their authentic stories relating to mental health? If you answered yes, you came to the right place. I would like to start by congratulating you for making your mental health a priority. It is time for another episode of COVID Talks, where today's guest, Bailey Smith, will highlight her experiences during the COVID-19 lockdown to add immediate value to your life. Throughout this global pandemic, we have all been affected in different ways, and this mental health advocate and mother is here to share her experiences and story. I met Bailey many months ago on Instagram as she was an avid supporter of my content, and once I looked into her story, I knew she would be a great fit for this platform where, as you remember, she shared her experiences and advocacy for mental health, domestic violence, suicide, and drug prevention. Bailey has dealt with mental health issues since being married to someone with a narcissistic personality disorder who also showed sociopathic tendencies. So we have a great bonus episode ahead, and allow me to now introduce Bailey Smith. Bailey, it's great to see you once again, and thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Same here. Vincent, I really enjoy talking to you, and I really enjoy so much every day seeing all the guests that come onto your show and share their stories. It's incredible. Thank you.
I appreciate the kind words. Would you mind please reintroducing yourself to our listeners and share part of your story before we dive in and get going, while also please do share your role relating to mental health?
Okay, so again, my name is Bailey Smith. I am an advocate for mental health and domestic violence. I am a mother of 3 boys. I went through a horrific marriage of 21 years. And I am out there sharing my story and trying to help other women feel comfortable coming forward and sharing their stories. And it's okay to share your story. It's okay to leave a bad situation, or not. It's okay. It's a must, especially if there are children involved. And throughout this year, I feel like I've really made with sharing my story on different platforms and being a host on NAASCA, NAASCA.org. Being a host on Monday nights, I feel like I have really, even just the little messages I get here and there, I feel it's so rewarding, as I'm sure you know. Absolutely. When you get to go out there and share your story and people relate to you and you learn from other people. And domestic violence, unfortunately, is still stigmatized and a very big issue in this world. And the more we encourage people and women or men to come forward and share their stories, or even just share it by sharing our stories, we give them strength to come forward. It's so rewarding, and that's my mission. It happened for a reason.
Yeah, storytelling is so powerful. Sharing your story allows others to resonate, make them feel like they're not alone. And I was going to bring up your work that you do with mental health and podcasting and things. So be sure to stick around. to the end of the episode to get that information on how to check out Bailey's endeavors. But thank you for sharing that, Bailey. I think it's a great time to get into the main event. As you all know, on each episode with a new guest, my guest and I go through a series of questions called the main event. But for COVID Talks episodes, we will have a main event of its own. You all ready to go?
I'm ready.
Great. So let's begin the show with getting into how your mental health has been affected from the 2020 pandemic overall.
Well, I have to say, good. It was bad, and then good. I'm not sure if you want me to expand on that right now, but I went through it was a very difficult year. It was one of the worst years of my life, other than when I first got separated. So it was rough. It was very, very, very rough.
But you are here still standing and you are still sharing your story. So that is what's important.
Yes.
But Bailey, you're saying it was rough. What would you say the most difficult part or roughest part of the 2020 pandemic was for you or is for you?
Okay. So let's take one step back. In January, I had a car accident where I was rear-ended on the way to the gym. Never mind. And unfortunately, the next month, the same thing happened when I finally got behind the wheel again. So I was already in a bad place. As you know, I'm an avid workoutaholic, which helps my mental health, besides my physical health, tremendously. I'm a runner. So I was already in a dark place. COVID hit, and I had all three of my children home. We brought my son home from Israel. I brought my son home from Israel because they were shutting down, and it was either leave him there locked up or bring him home. And since he has cancer and was going to need treatment or see his doctors, I had to bring him home. So in a 2-bedroom townhome, there were 3 teenagers or young adults and myself, and we all were in a very bad place, little by little. And the isolation, I'm always out and about, and isolation, the physical pain, the mental pain, all of it together, the depression was bad, very bad.
I can imagine car accidents can be very horrific. We've all been involved or have family involved in ones, and it definitely shifts your mindset or is more challenging to reach a positive mindset, but you are strong mentally. But I guess now, was that the hardest part of the pandemic for you, or was there more difficult challenges?
So, well, having 4 people in the same small space, all isolated, all with mental health challenges to begin with. My separation, divorce hurt all of us in a really bad way, and I had gotten healthy, thank God. But when you're home, all you're doing is thinking. So you have nothing but time. So, and not a lot of really until I was able to do my virtual classes for my gym. The truth is, I was going to physical therapy a few times a week. So that got me out of the house. But other than that, and going to the store only when I needed to for shopping. You think so much, and it helped me in a lot of good ways. It helped me, but watching your children be so unhappy and nothing you could do for them, what was there to do? And I didn't realize how bad it was for my oldest, and that's the one that we talked about that had a mental breakdown, and we'll get to that later. But it was very
something with the kids too. It comes up probably almost every episode where these children have everything out of their lives already, as they really do need to rely on the adult figures in their lives to really do anything. And the only thing they knew was, all right, get to school on time. And then now that was taken away. But What are some ways that you've been coping with the additional changes and stress that you've been talking about, even for your kids? What's been going on?
So basically, I like I said, I was in such a dark place.
Yep.
I literally was in bed. I go to therapy, do my classes, and crawl back into bed. I had a horrible breakup for 2 years, on and off,
Yeah.
unhealthy relationship that really broke my heart. And I how you can't talk to your kids about it,
Yeah, of course.
I have my therapist, thank God, but I started writing a little bit
Very
more.
important. Very important.
I was doing as many virtual, my my coaches were going into the gym and doing live classes, and we were allowed to do as many as we wanted. So
That's cool.
I was doing my physical therapy through that, like my extra physical therapy through that. So that was helpful to get my mind off of the isolation and the thoughts that I had when I was alone. As far as my children, some of them became creative
Oh, yeah.
as far as working out, because they're all into working out. So they
Very
would go
good.
into the garage, and my oldest son would take a hockey stick and put a backpack on it and weights inside
That's
and
cool.
use it as a barbell. And everybody in their own little way, after a while, started finding ways when it came to working out to be a little bit more creative.
Which is good though. And I find when I don't exercise for the day, even if it's a 10-minute walk, that's where I really do start overthinking and thinking about things that don't really matter. So it's great that you're emphasizing exercise this whole episode, but
Yes.
even your children, when I was going into school in middle schoolish, exercise benefits became more readily known, readily available. The internet started getting larger. But when you were a kid, exercise probably wasn't that emphasized. I know my dad used to tell me you looked wealthy if you had a big belly when his parents came off the boat. Like it wasn't
you
about
know,
working out.
you want to talk about that for a split second? My parents worked like crazy, so we raised ourselves. We were 5 kids. My oldest sister left home early and went away to school.
Yeah.
But I used to bike ride. I was like a tomboy. So, and my brother under me, we're very close in age. We're 18 months apart. So I used to hang out with all the boys, and we did a lot of bike riding and sports playing. I was a big roller skater. I'd be the roller skater of the neighborhood. So I was active since I'm a little girl.
Right.
My entire life, I've always leaned, I guess, as my outlet.
Good.
So,
It's a good outlet to have.
oh my gosh, it's the best. And
Yeah.
running, I couldn't run. So I would go outside every single night and walk in my little gated community.
It's another great point too, where you don't have to, when people who exercise, I think lifting weights, you can
Right.
simply walk. You can
Walk.
simply go
Yes.
find a staircase and walk up a couple of times. You could do a lot,
Well,
but
the fresh air was very
fresh
important to get
air,
out of the
nature's
house.
huge. So these
Yes.
are a lot of positives that we're leading into now. Let's now talk about more positives that you found out that came out of this 2020 pandemic. Obviously, it was dark for everybody in various ways, depending on your situation. But there are some bright lights out of this. What did you find?
Well, there's more dark stuff, but I think you're going to ask me more about that when you ask me the next question. But positive stuff, I was continuing. I'm very good at when you're a survivor of domestic violence, you become a very good actress. And as real as I am, I was able to get on that show every Monday night. I think I became more of a powerful host.
Mm-hmm.
I continue with my advocating. I reached out to people from that I hosted
Mm-hmm.
that were going through horrific things. I started looking at things in a different way. Mentally, I got healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I actually started to get healthy. I got over the guy I was dating. I realized I'm such a better, healthier person. I became a stronger stronger in so many ways because as much as I was hurting,
Mm-hmm.
I still had to be a mother. And so, in so many, my faith, my, it's always been there, but I talked to God a lot. And that really became a big part of my daily life. Like Wednesday mornings, I don't go to the gym. I go in the afternoon because I get up early to listen to my rabbi give a class about faith.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm up always at this hour, anyways. So I just started reflecting. I stopped pity partying. I really worked so hard throughout the year to get away from that depression. But it really made my empathy for people that have that deep, dark
Absolutely.
depression became so much more. And I started to understand my kids more, and try to be there to help them, and others. I mean, you know, so many people were isolated.
Everybody, most common folks got a taste of what depression is like for
Oh,
people
yeah.
on a normal basis. And, you know, it gets dark, especially when you think, all right, a month's already gone by. How much longer could this go? And then here we are now, 10 months, still dealing with it. And we have a super strand that we're hearing about. So I don't
I see. I don't even pay attention to
I
that
hear
because
that. I heard that at the gym we were talking about today. This super strand. Because at the gym,
I'm not
obviously, we have
even.
masks on and whatever.
I'm not even thinking about it. I
Yeah.
live every single day as it comes. Look, today is a historic day. Who knows what's going to happen? January 6th, right?
Hmm.
Um, you know, Washington is some crazy stuff is going to happen there today. So, every day there are miracles. Every day, so many people committed suicide, which is a pandemic.
Suicide's extremely high. Yeah.
Domestic violence is a pandemic in the entire world. I think those things are starting to be more. I think COVID has shown the outsiders who really knew nothing about, like you said, the depression. People that were probably happy-go-lucky people probably went through depression or something to that effect. So people are starting to see how serious um, being stuck with your abuser is,
Yep.
and children being stuck with their abusers and not even having a safety net. So in some ways, it's opened up the door, of awareness.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, we still have so much more work to go, but
Yeah.
I think it took in for what I do as an advocate. It's opened the door a lot, and people have come forward and started talking more. So
Yeah.
that's my goal.
It's a good
So
goal, and you're doing a great job at it. But now let's transition to talking about how your work life was affected by this pandemic. And let's start at the beginning in March, and then let's lead up till now.
so I'm very, very lucky. I am I do employee benefits. I have a set of clients that's been with me for a very long time. So for me, work was not really affected, thank God. Thank God. I was very lucky. I started I started seeing the positive and the um the good in my life. Um so when you start reflecting so much, so deep down, you start realizing people have nowhere to live. They have no food. They have no income. I was so thankful that my business was still running, and it was quiet. I really just deal with my clients on customer service basis now, renewals. January was very busy, early January, end of December, early January, but it's calm now. So I have to be thankful that I had an income, and most people, I would say more people than not didn't. So in that sense, I was able to not I was, I was, and I learned not to worry. We have no control, and it makes you realize we have no control. There's somebody pulling the strings, and when you change your whole mindset like that, you live a happier life, and you
Very,
stop
very good
focusing on the
lesson.
next.
Yes.
And my middle son had to have surgery, so we went to New York in August. Um, he had his fourth surgery, and we're now in Sloan Kettering.
Hmm.
So we spent 10 days in an apartment there, and right on the by the FDR Drive, Hudson River.
Okay.
So the hospital was right there, the apartment was right there. So I took advantage. I mean, my son had a very serious surgery, and he, thank God, bounced back beautifully. He's an amazing kid. This is my middle son, who's
Yeah.
21. And it was gorgeous weather. I started trying to run a little. And I got to see all my girlfriends. I made it, even though it was a tough time, I made it into a positive time
Yeah.
for me. So again, like I said, I've really changed my whole um, attitude of life, because you watch so many people that or of, or people are very close to, were literally dropping like flies. And
Yep.
here you're able to walk down FDR Drive or whatever it was, and or even when I was able to do more exercise and have fresh air, and there are people that were, was in a hospital for 3 days with my son, and we were lucky we were nowhere near COVID or anything. But he I'm looking at this kid, and he just had surgery and cancer, just literally that weekend. Whole bunch of friends came to spend the weekend with us. It was like, you look at this and you say, wow. And I don't have a right to be depressed, so I have to say that it turned my whole life around in a
Yeah.
positive way. So I
Well, you
I
beat me to
feel,
the punch in talking about our children. How
well,
you
I'm
go
not
about.
done yet. One of my children, unfortunately, my oldest son, had a setback, and I have so much regret in not realizing. I was so wrapped up in my own depression. I didn't realize how bad. He's the one that I started advocating for in the beginning. Um, and it's very unfortunately he went to live with our abuser.
Hmm.
When I came back um, from New York, he picked up and he left. And that's a very, very, very hard thing that I'm dealing with right now. Again, I believe in God, and I believe everything happens for a reason. And that's been very, very tough for me, because I love him. I live for my children. Um, my middle son came home. He was living in Brooklyn. That was his dream. He had a job, apartment. He came back home. He thinks he wants to stay here. He doesn't know what he wants to do yet. But, kids always realize their mother, their nurturer. Um, they realize which parent has always been there, especially when you go through domestic violence. So I have to say that, I might have complained, and I have all the kids home, and all on top of each other, and we're all going through this tough time, and it's so hard. I'd rather have all my kids home. So, it hurts me, it breaks my heart. But again, I had to just learn to accept I can have no control. Everything is going as planned, as God has planned it to go, and whatever happens happens. And that's, my kids are doing okay. I mean, one's doing his Zoom work right now downstairs, and then the other one is relaxing until we figure out what he's going to do with his life. And we'll see how it goes. It's very important that, and I'm going to say about your book. Your book is great for kids, even for teenagers. Um, it's it's a wake up call in a way where they can answer these read these things and answer these questions and realize, hey, this is how I'm feeling, or, check, I'm good in this department, or, because that's how I was looking at reading it. I was thinking about my children. Um, you know, it's a great way to just sometimes we don't even realize. I didn't realize until I came out of the fog what a dark place I really was in. Um, and I started to understand more why people commit suicide. Um, I looked at that dark place. I would never have done it. My children are my world, but I understood how people go into such a deep dark place and don't know how to come out of it, or they don't have the right support system. So, and your book, you're talking all about mental health and how you're feeling and all this kind of stuff. And I was able to just say, I have to hand this to my kids, actually, my middle son, actually, and just let him go through it. And, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I need to do for it. These are things that I can do. So, that's how things have been. I mean, right now I always am trying to write this book. That takes you to a dark place, going through 3 years of police reports, and if you want to be accurate, and I've kind of been not really doing it and focusing on my advocating and speaking to so many women that don't have their kids. Their kids were taken from them because of a broken judicial system, which is a whole other topic. Um, and that's something I want to focus on because my own girlfriend is going through that, and I listen to her all day. So there's so many things that I plan to do, make some changes, positive changes in my life, so I can help others. Be there more for my children. Have more awareness to their moods. Somebody's sleeping a lot, not getting up, staying in bed all day. Something's not right, and I can, I can, be so angry at myself over and over. How did I not realize my son sleeping on the floor in the living room, just doesn't want to get up, doesn't want to do anything? We went through that already once before, and I could kick myself. Why didn't I work on getting him help sooner? But again, I can't. There's no control. I'm only one person, and yes, he's 23 years old now, and hopefully he'll have a wake-up call and realize he's not in a good place and needs the right help and get it. So that's where I am at the moment. But I personally am in a positive. I wake up every day positive. I wake up every day and I go to the gym. So many people can't or are no longer with us. My children are very active and they work out every day, and so I feel blessed in my life, even though I'm alone. I don't have a partner, and I've made a decision not to personal decision not to focus on me and continuing my healing from my accidents and feeling better about myself. It's really helped me tremendously, to take that out of my mind. Oh, I'm alone. Oh, I'm alone. I don't want to be alone. I'm happy right now being alone, and I'm focusing on me and my kids.
That's great to hear that you're putting yourself first, 'cause that's very important. You can't help others until you help yourself.
For children that have awareness, that are old enough to have awareness, know that when you don't feel right, we have people, we have parents, we have therapists, we have resources. There's phone numbers you can call to get help. Never isolate yourself. Always talk to people. Say, I'm not feeling right. This is not. You know, I'm not. Never keep negative feelings or thoughts to yourself, there are always somebody, especially parents or relatives or siblings, you can go to talk to and say, I need help. There is help. Nobody needs to live depressed, sad, and unhappy. It breaks my heart because I've watched it. And no, you know, people have to want it, but if you have control over your own children or relative or whoever, um, get them help, because help will save their lives. And you know, we know when we don't feel right. We know, we all have this. There's something within us that we know we're unhappy, and nobody should ever feel that way. And there, like I said, there is help. Talk to people, talk to your friends, talk. I mean, hopefully, your parents or grandparents or teachers, now you're on Zoom. There are tons of groups or support groups on Zoom. All it is a click away of Googling.
Absolutely.
And, you know, us as parents have to be more aware of changes in our children. And that's something that I wish I would have done. I can't go back and beat myself up, but now I am. When I see my youngest child being very angry, I get on the phone with his therapist. Please help me, talk to him, help us communicate, because you know we don't want to, God forbid, lose our children. We're living in a very, very crazy time, and you know everybody's going to go through something. So that's something that I feel very strongly about. And again, the stigma, and you coming out there and being an advocate and talking about this is so important. So
I like how you said at the end there, at the end of the episode now, where we're talking about being present in your children's life. And I think this whole period, this COVID period, as adult figures, it makes us that much more imperative to be present in their lives because they need us. But Bailey, thank you so much for coming on the show again. I know our listeners are going to see all the value in your episode. I loved how you emphasized exercising through this. You found writing to be another outlet, but you also related as a human being. You talked about family, the relationships, and isolation during the pandemic. But it is time for the last word. And I also do this on my other podcast, what it's really like to be an entrepreneur too, because I really want our listeners to get to know the guests. Is there something you would like to share that we did not get to touch on yet today?
I'm just doing what I have to do every single day by working and doing my advocating. And when I get response from people, where they come forward and they share their stories with me, and I'm able to give them a resource to get help, there's nothing more rewarding than that. And I just think people have to be more. I think COVID has really changed this world in a lot of ways, how people treat each other and how people view each other and people look at each other. The more we are empathetic to people, the more we listen to people, the more we notice something is not right with people around us, and we say something. Or even I saw a meme the other day that said something like, just a smile can light up somebody's day. Just be more friendly, just be more, considerate. And I think that that's what COVID taught this entire, I think there was a reason why this happened in the entire world at the same time. There's someone, like I said, pulling strings above and wants us more to connect, not just in our own homes. Obviously, that's where it has to start, but in the world.
Yep.
You're sitting on a train or a bus or wherever you are, you're in traffic. You know what? I don't get angry anymore. Somebody beeping, go around me. I don't care. Those are things that are so unimportant. So, just in general, be happy you're alive and you can still offer things to people and you're there for your kids. And and you're healthy, and there's so much. Everything else is minimal, you know.
Very positive ending. I love it. Would you mind now, please, sharing your professional social media, the website, anything you have going on for our listeners to reach out to you?
So like I said, I'm always very cautious who I accept on my social media. I am on Facebook, Bailey Smith, Bailey Smith. You can always send me a message and say you heard me on the Vincent Lanci show. I will have to look into you to make sure that you're legit. I'm on LinkedIn. That's my business under AJM Employee Benefits, and my name Bailey Smith, Bailey Smith. They can always send you a message, and you can forward on to me. I try to, again, I'm out there. Reach out to me, but I have to be very cautious. I do, again, like I said on my other show, I get stalked. I
Yep.
do get catfished, even on social media. So I'm cautious, but I would love people that hear this show. I would love feedback. I'm here to help. And I have met so many amazing people by hosting the show on NASCA. And I know a lot of resources. I always say I'm going to put together something, which I haven't, but I do have a lot of resources I can share with other people.
We're at a mental health break on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And on Twitter, we're at Podcasts by Lanci. So you have updates from this show and what it's really like to be an entrepreneur. Of course, my handles are at Vincent A. Lanci for all social media and YouTube. And my website is vincentalanci.com. If you check out my books, DM me. I would love to hear from you all. We have Mr. Lanci Talks Mental Health, Left for Dead, A Story of Redemption, and How to Transform Your Mindset When the Norm is Changed. All are on my website now. If you enjoyed today's episode, please continue listening and rate a mental health break 5 stars. I work hard to find value delivering guests for you on each episode. Thank you for listening, and I will see you all on the next episode of A Mental Health Break.